MyDMV is our next presentation. We're so grateful and honored to have the Commissioner of the North Carolina DMV with us this morning, Tori Jessup. As Commissioner, Tori Jessup oversees the daily operations of North Carolina's Division of Motor Vehicles, including the registration of more than 9 million vehicles, the issuance of 6.9 million driver's licenses, vehicle safety and emissions inspections by more than 6,000 inspection stations statewide, as well as activities to halt theft and identity fraud. Joining Commissioner Jessup will be Mike Wands. Mike is the former CTO from the state of Illinois, where he drove IT transformation. Mike is also a member of the Payet executive team as the Chief Client Officer. Let's give a round of applause for our next presenters, Commissioner Jessup and Mike Wands.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Let's see. Y'all mind if I just talk to you this morning? All right. I'm probably more anxious to get to Q&A than I am to talk to you about DMV, but DMV is an exciting place too. Here's my clicker. Where do I start? The conversation that I like to typically start out with is why we do what we do at DMV. Everybody's been to DMV, right? Everybody has a driver's license. You know what we do. What do? We issue credentials, right? I tell my team that really what we are an information management organization. Because the information that's on your credentials, whether it's your vehicle registration or whether it's your driver's license, is just data that we've captured and we've placed on a piece of paper or a piece of plastic. But what we really do is manage data. So I'm trying to change our mindset in terms of understanding what we do, and then why do we do it? We do what we do for the citizens of North Carolina because a driver's license or that piece of paper for your vehicle that says that you have the right to put that car on the road or that it's safe and fit to do so is a way for people to get around. I can't do what I need to do with for my family, go to work, take them to school, go to church, go to community events and so forth without the privilege to drive unless I utilize public transportation. But even if I utilize public transportation, somebody has a credential to get me to where I need to go. So the reason why we do what we do is to make sure that the citizens of North Carolina have the ability to be mobile and to improve their lives. So this is the conversation that we're starting to have at North Carolina Division of Motor Vehicles. We're going through a strategic planning process right now where we're developing that message. We're developing measures and goals around that. This is the first time that DMV, in at least recent history, has had a strategic plan. Many of you work with companies that have strategic plans, and when you got hired by that company, that's probably one of the first things you looked to give you guidance and direction on what it is that you need to do in that particular organization. So we're undergoing the strategic planning process to improve our understanding of how we do things and why we do what we do at the Division of Motor Vehicles. There are three things that drive us, and that's safety, security, and customer service. And we have to focus on those things as we improve our organization. And how many of you have heard of modernizing? You've heard that term before. It's like a buzzword now, modernizing. And I'm always cautious to make sure that there's the ing on the end of modernizing, because I think so often with government, we look at the opportunity to modernize, meaning that it's a destination, that we've improved something and now we're going to allow it to be in place for a while and work for a while. But the truth of the matter is that technology continues to improve. The citizens of North Carolina in every state in the country, every DMV is modernizing, but every citizen, we all have these things, right? Some of us have 2. But we all use them. I don't typically set foot in a bank anymore. I don't typically set foot in a post office anymore because I can do business at the palm of my hand. And our citizens expect for government to continue to be able to do the same thing, is to allow them to receive the services that they really pay for by utilizing these types of devices right here. And we have to make sure that we can do that in the most secure way possible, and so that we assure that the people who utilize our highway infrastructure, in DMV's case, are fit to do so. So we're going through this modernizing effort, and I see this play out in a number of steps. And when I came to DMV just over a year ago, what I noticed was, well, one, we didn't really understand how we did or why we did what we do in terms of internal business processes. So there was an initiative that was already started, but somebody stopped it for some reason to do business process mapping within our organization or the backside of the organization. Patrice, I forgot the slides. So I'm just going to talk, y'all, until we get to the point where I'm going to show you some of the projects that we're working on. But we started with business process mapping so that we understand all the things that we do, why we do them, and, that tells us how we can improve them at the same time. And this is somewhat of a culture change. It's a mindset change within the organization, because we've got many people who were just trained to do a task a certain way.
I just wanted to make sure it's working. Hi.
He's the tech guy.
Yeah. It should be if you go that way, the slides will work.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm still on this slide anyway. A little long-winded today. So business process mapping. So it's a change of the way that we think about what we do. I mean, we can't write good requirements for projects unless we understand our processes internally. So we engaged in the project, or completed a project, I guess it was last May, to map out all our processes so that as we write requirements, as we look at how we can improve and become more efficient, we know why we do that. Previously it was someone being trained on a specific task based on, hand-me-down information. And what I say to our team is that Sally doesn't work here anymore. And Sally is same as last year. We don't do things just because we did them last year. And I hope I didn't offend anybody named Sally in the room. But it's a catchy acronym that a lot of people do remember internally, that, let's not rely on information or ways of doing things just because we did it like this last year. We should be in the mode or in the mindset of iterative improvement, and that's what we're trying to adopt. So we're modernizing. Every DMV across the country is modernizing, and it is a journey that we have just begun. And I think some of the initial presenters' conversation was around third-party vendors or third-party partners that will allow us to go down this journey and be a lot more nimble moving forward. But I want to show you a few things that we have going on at DMV. So I'll talk to this slide. We have 1,400 employees, 7.1 million driver's licenses that have been issued, and probably another 800,000 ID cards that have been issued. So we have about 8,000 credentials that people put in their 8 million credentials that people put in their pockets every day, to transact business or prove that they have the privilege to drive on our roads. 9 million vehicles registered in the state of North Carolina. I guess all this says is that we have a lot of work that we do, because there's a lot that goes behind each of these credentials and each of these registrations. And really, this is just part of what we do, because we also issue dealer's license for car salesmen, distributors, car distributors, and even some car manufacturers or automobile manufacturers. We also have a law enforcement division that oversees that. We do a lot at DMV, and it takes a lot of technology infrastructure to coordinate all that we do. So the truth of the matter is that a lot of what we do is back office stuff that the public doesn't see. Everybody from North Carolina here? Yeah? Okay. So this is not the first time you've seen me then, right? You may have seen me on the news talking about long lines at DMV. And that is just one thing that I have to deal with, is the lines that people see because we're such a public-facing organization. What you see the most is our driver's license offices. But there's so much more to DMV that's back office. And as we improve our driver's license offices, which is the face of the organization typically, there's a lot more that takes place behind the office. I had one of our, we have an organizational development specialist in the office, and I asked him, he's the one who did some of the business process mapping, and I asked him to look at everybody in the organization that did data entry or touched a piece of paper. And he says that's about 77% of our workforce. And don't quote me on that, but this was just like a rough estimate that he did when I asked him that question. So we have a lot of opportunity in DMV to put in place some things that can improve our efficiency by just going paperless or interfacing with other government systems or other systems, so that we don't have to do the data entry or we don't have to do the scanning of documents. There's a lot of efficiency that can take place. And a couple of those projects are reflected in what I'm showing you here on the screen. And I apologize, this writing is kind of small, but the first project is our e-crash replacement system. E-crash, well, we sell crash data. We sell crash data to attorneys. Attorneys use this in court cases where they're defending or representing an individual that may have been in an accident. And the way that we receive this crash data right now is from local law enforcement, but they have to write or key that information in and send it in to us. And depending on how they send it in to us, determines on whether we have to key it back in or whether we can just use that information. And so we have an e-crash replacement system that's going to modernize that part of our organization, allow for real-time reporting directly to DMV and DMV systems, and improve the way that we allow individuals or improve the way that we distribute that type of data to the public users of that data, such as attorneys and other law enforcement entities. Another thing that, this is maybe kind of front office, but somewhat back office, is voter registration. We have an obligation through the, well, we call it the Motor Voter Bill when it came out, but it's the National Voter Registration Act. And all DMVs across the country have some responsibility to take application for voter registration. We don't actually register voters. But when we take those applications, what we did when I first came on board was that we take that application, well, we get the information, let the customer verify it on the screen, and they would verify, we'd print the form, they'd sign the form, and then we'd put the form on a scanner to be scanned at the end of the day. And with hundreds of transactions per day, that's hundreds of documents that have to be scanned directly to the Board of Elections at the end of the day, right? How efficient is that? Not very. I'll see a lot of people shaking their heads. That's not very efficient. So we created some efficiency there to help speed up our transaction process in the office so people get in and out of the office faster. But what we also did was created an efficiency with the State Board of Elections to make sure that those documents went through without a scanner jamming or a transmission not going through. So we've achieved a high level of reconciliation with the State Board of Elections with their data and the data that we receive from the customer and their desire to register to vote, by just allowing that customer to sign the electronic pad that they already signed for their license anyway. They just sign that again, and then we push the button and we send it on straight to the Board of Elections. So that's some efficiency that we've created at DMV, and some that we're working on to improve the way that we do things. And there are a host of other things. Ignition Interlock Program, you may not know what that is, but if someone has a DUI or DWI, they go to court and the court says, okay, you have the privilege to drive with this device on your car. You have to blow into the device before you can crank the car, okay? As long as you have the appropriate reading. Well, there again, we were getting paper transmissions from the vendors of the Ignition Interlock Program to verify tests and reports and so forth. Well, we got rid of that paper, and now that information is being received electronically. So we're creating a lot of back office efficiencies. The last one on that page is DMV visualization and transparency. Well, that's a data project. DMV is so data rich, as you can imagine. We get a lot of information about a lot of people and about a lot of vehicles and businesses that are out there, towing companies, dealerships, and so forth. We have a lot of data that we deal with, and that data is constantly moving every day. So with our current systems, it's challenging to get accurate data because you have to have the same request every time. If it's a slightly different request, that data changes. And what we're trying to do is make sure that we have the highest degree of accuracy as possible with our data. And this visualization and transparency process that we're working on with SAS is moving us in that direction so that we don't have to go to our IT team to do a data pull just to get that data, review the data and say, hey, this is not exactly what we're looking for, pull the data again. We can pull it ourselves directly from DMV headquarters. So believe it or not, that's where we are with data, and we're trying to move into a current state like everybody else in private industry. And of course, we have another data project for the entire Department of Transportation that is similar in nature. And the last project is one of our most recent projects that we just launched. And I'm excited about this program. It's called, well, it's the Pay It company, but we call it MyDMV. MyDMV has existed for a while. It's been a portal on our website that has served its purpose. But the development of that tool has been a bit slow going for various reasons. And what we identified is that, like the previous presenter said, we have some third-party entities out there that can help us to be a lot more nimble, not just a little bit more nimble, but a lot more nimble by interfacing with our system and doing some development that we can't do quickly and easily because of the type of system. I mean, we have a pretty old mainframe COBOL system, and it takes a unique set of experience and skill to develop programming in that environment. And so we have vendors out there like Pay It that we're looking to help us to be more nimble so that we can provide some of the services that our customers, our citizens, expect us to continue to be able to provide, such as online payments. And we've started that. Now, granted, we've been doing online payments for a while, but we're doing it in a new way. So my wife, I'll just tell you a story. My wife was the director of instructional technology for the Charlotte-Mecklenburg school systems for a long time, well, for some years. And my youngest son, don't tell her that. But my oldest son, who's now 16, as soon as he could sit up, she put a mouse in his hand. He had a cute little Elmo mouse, and he would just click away doing various little educational programs. And we thought we were only going to have one child, and 8 years later comes a little brother. And so as soon as he's able to sit up, my wife puts him on an iPad. And we showed him the Elmo mouse one day, and he thought it was some kind of toy that he couldn't figure out. He didn't know what a mouse was because he grew up in an age where it was all about a touch screen. You know, my first son, he knows what a mouse is, but he also knows what a touch screen is. But that improvement in 8 years, I mean, my youngest son knew he didn't know what to do with a mouse. Couldn't figure it out. So fast forward, if we're looking forward, what is the next iteration? You know, it's probably voice command. So government has to be thinking in the same way that people are developing. There are people in our workforce right now who, you know, when they see that green screen behind our driver's license office, that DOS green screen, they don't know what that is. So we've got to have some entities out there that helps us to move as quickly as technology moves. And PAYIT has been one of those entities that has allowed us to do that. So we're starting right now with vehicle services, which is probably the largest part of our business, especially in terms of transactions, because everybody has to renew their vehicles on an annual basis. So this was a good place for us to start, especially when we consider the fact that we've got Real ID at play that requires some people to come into the office. We don't want to drive everybody online with driver's license examinations. But I'm excited that, you know, with this tool, we start with vehicle, but we can move quickly, not in years' time, but in a matter of months or weeks, potentially, on to driver's license. We can do things like appointments a lot more nimbly through this mobile app, and a host of things if I let my mind run. I was just talking to Mike about this in the back office. You know, I could see, and I can see a time where we don't have people coming into the driver's license office for us to scan information. I could see these types of interfaces allowing us just to interface with other government agencies that also put data on paper for us to verify, right? We can verify data system to system today, but unfortunately, policy and laws sometimes get in the way of that. And that's another component of what we have to work with here. But I see PAYIT as an entity, or this platform as an entity that's just starting with a small part of our business right now, helping us to just conduct business in a totally different way by interfacing with other parts of the government to verify information for individuals so that they can be issued credentials without even having to come into the driver's license office, because I don't want people in line any more than they want to be in line. So I'll leave it at that. And Mike, if you want to come on up, and then we'll take a few questions after that.
You still have 10 more slides, Commissioner?
No, that's it. That's you. Oh, I need my devices here.
Okay. Well, thank you, Commissioner. I thought that was a very interesting outbreak. And thank you for being a partner with PAYIT. My name is Mike Wands. I am the Chief Client Officer for a company named PAYIT. This is not a sales pitch at all, just so you guys know. I have only been part of the PAYIT team actually for the past 4 months, so I'm a recent joinee of the organization. Prior to that, I was a customer of PAYIT, so I had the opportunity firsthand to use the platform and the capabilities to help improve the delivery of services to citizens in Illinois. So prior to joining PAYIT, I was Chief Technology Officer for the state of Illinois. I joined back in 2014 and went down the path of transformation journey in IT. When I joined the state, the first thing that we saw was that we had very independent IT organizations that were spread out throughout the state. We had 40 major agencies with 40 different IT departments doing 40 different things. And what we wanted to do was come in and bring the IT people together so that we could help enable the vision that the agency leaders had. And that was our path as we went down. And I thought it was interesting when I tell a little bit of story and tell a little bit and share a little bit about my wife as well, who loves this story whenever I tell it. But it was interesting. I had been in the private sector my whole career and had an opportunity to be appointed to this position in Illinois. And it was a good conversation with my wife and talking about it. And at the end of the conversation, she said something that I used as kind of the catalyst going into the state. And that was, I understand what you're talking about. Sounds like it's really exciting. And she paused for a couple minutes and said, what does the state do anyway? Okay, what does the state do anyway? And if you think about it, a citizen doesn't know the difference between a state experience, a county, a city, the federal government. The only thing that they know is different is who they write the check to. And so when you think about that, I went into the state of Illinois and said, we need to improve this. And part of the transition team for the new governor, McKinsey, was already in there, did all their studies, came up with the approach that the average citizen is not satisfied with government, right? If you look at the interaction point with government and look at it from an electronic perspective, government is actually below the cable company, right? That's where it was in the surveys. And so when you looked at it, I had an opportunity to go out and meet all the agency directors and talk about our strategy. I was a new guy in town, going around and listening to everybody. We ended up counting 527 individual services that our state provided to citizens or businesses, and those were distributed across 50 different websites. Those 50 different websites were only 25% of the overall transaction. The other 75% of those transactions had to occur via writing, via in person, via filling out a form, going to a location. And so we went down the path of trying to figure out how to make it easier for a citizen to interact. And when we did that, it was really kind of an interesting story because we saw exactly what Dustin shared at the beginning is there is not really a focus on the citizen when you look at the way that government delivers services. They deliver services individually to that citizen, but they don't do it in a way that makes it easier. And one of the comments you made, which I thought was very telling, is we need to design around the experience that the citizen has, right? It's all about the citizen and the ability to have them interact with government very easily. And we're not going to stop as government leaders until they can do anything and everything in the palm of their hand. And we have to make it that simple for them. And the palm of your hand could be voice, it could be text, it could be natural language processing, it could be really cool apps, but it really has to be focused on the citizen itself. And so when we had an opportunity to start talking about the solution, the North Carolina solution that is in place that was put together through the leadership and the innovation and the partnership was a journey, right? We're just getting started taking a look at what is out there. And you think about the DMVs, and I was sharing with Commissioner before we came out and talked, we have an opportunity at Payette to work with a lot of DMVs across the country. This DMV is the most innovative DMV that we found. I mean, what you're doing here, what Secretary Eric is doing, and what we're doing with innovation, and what we're doing with the individual efforts, you guys are doing some great stuff. I want to give a compliment. We work with a lot of different states, trying a lot of different things, trying to improve the delivery of services. Most of it is limited by not the innovation and ideas that people have, but the ability to execute. And I think that's something that's really critical. When you say agile and you say government together, you don't always see those things or hear of those things, right? And when we came into the state of Illinois, I saw that. We shut down 14 projects when we first came in because there were no business owners anymore. What had happened is a smart agency director was appointed. They met with their team. They figured out their vision. They saw what they wanted to do. They went through the process of trying to put out an RFP, procure something, then get a contract signed. And by the time they got to that point, they had completed their term. So we had all these projects that were running with no business owners. Very strange. But the focus there is it's all about speed, right? Roughly right is okay. We have to be able to improve the delivery of services to citizens, and I know that's why we're all here. And so when we take a look at it from the DMV perspective, a couple of these slides that we share early on, the goals that Commissioner shared, reduce the wait time, make it easier for a citizen, give them all their services in the palm of their hand. That vision is something that we all aspire to do. And the thing that we like to share is we're all citizens of the state that we're in, right? So you guys are consumers of these services that DMV is providing, and that's something that I think is really unique and interesting when you take a look at the solution. Today, the MyDMV solution is available. My NCDMV solution is available. Great example, great solution. Has anybody downloaded the app yet? Couple people, couple folks. You guys, free app. You can get it at any app store. You can go to the web if you want to access it as well. It's very simple and easy to set up, and it gives you the ability to have a common digital wallet that you can then use to interact with the DMV. So the benefits of the citizens, they want to have an easier way to use a very customer centric type approach that gives them natural language processing. So when we say that, the things that are kind of fun are the ability to interact with something when it actually talks to you. And so one of the things that we did is, as part of the platform and the solution that was launched for my NCDMV was really chat bot enable the solution, right? So it's an interactive chat function that goes through and navigates your path that you need to go through. It knows everything about you in the back end, right? The system is integrated and tied to the back office systems. It knows what your address is. It knows what cars you have. It knows your individual insurance company that you had. And it works through the process, and it gives you a very personalized feeling. I'm going to share a little bit of that with you a little bit later today. But it is a personalized profile and wallet. You create one wallet when you use Pay It. So everything that we're doing here that the DMV is doing then gives you the ability to have a common system, citizen profile, one citizen profile. When I shared the example of 527 individual services that the state of Illinois provides across 50 different websites, the average citizen in the state of Illinois existed in 37 different systems. The average citizen. So think about that. That created a lot of security risk, it created a lot of duplicity, a lot of challenges. How about one common citizen digital wallet? I think that's really critical. And so when you take a look at that, I think it really gives you an opportunity to see the vast capabilities of the solution. So solution's available today. Download it. You can download it right now, add it onto your phone, access it via the website, and give us feedback. It gives you an opportunity at the end of the experience to actually share what's going on and what feedback that you'd like to provide. The important thing that we found is that not only do we need to provide capabilities to improve the delivery of services to the citizen, but it actually is the government workers who don't have good tools. And so I think a big part of what we do and what we're trying to provide is an administrative portal that gives government workers, DMV, the ability to access and use things going forward. I think that that's very critical as well. So one of the things I found in the state of Illinois was that most of the government workers were working on green screens, right? 70% of the workload was done on the mainframe in the state. It's 68% today, so we're making great progress back in Illinois, but we got a lot of work to do, a lot of legacy systems. So there's a lot of benefits for the state and as we enable this capability. When we take a look at the app availability, I shared this with you already. I apologize, I'm going through some of these slides quickly. These slides were for the commissioner. So I'll get to my slides in 50 more slides. I hope that's okay. Some of the early observations. One of the things you get to do at the end of the experience is you can share feedback. And so it gives you an opportunity to post via social media, different comments. I'm going to share with you guys, this is fantastic. You can share feedback, but we've also been able to go in and gather feedback that was provided by citizens on some of the things that weren't quite right for them and come back to the DMV and say, would you guys like us to make changes? And we made the changes and put it in within a day. So it's something that's very fast. It's getting the feedback from the citizens and continuing to help improve the overall delivery. Some of the early results of what we found so far, there's actually, as of a couple minutes ago, there's 61,000 citizens have signed up and have a profile now, and they're averaging about 6,000 transactions a day. So think about that. That would have been 6,000 visits to an office, potentially, that is now being handled by this intuitive platform that the DMV has launched. 10% of citizens are renewing multiple vehicles at one time, which you can do. And then citizens have the choice of doing different payment options. A lot of times we allow, credit card or all the different credit card services, but you can also do ACH payments, you can do e-checks. There's different ways to things, and we're going to launch cryptocurrency payments in the future as well. And again, it's both mobile and web are being used. About 80% is being used on an iPhone right now, about 20% Android. About 75% of the transactions people are using the web right now. So again, those balances work out, and it is easily acceptable. So those were the commissioner slides. Any questions for the commissioner? All right, so a little bit more on the Pay It story. So I shared my journey in Illinois, and I also shared at the beginning that I was a customer of Pay It. When I talked about that citizen interaction point, I put out an RFI in the state of Illinois. I had 20 vendors reply, and I saw this individual company out there called Pay It, and that really piqued my interest because at the core, it was services-based architecture, right? They talk about Docker and Kubernetes. It was all about React and React Native and the capabilities of having integrated workflow in the solution. And they had a strategy that was cloud first. Everything was cloud, everything was in the G Cloud. Everything that Pay It has is provided via the G Cloud service out there. So it was secure. I felt good about that. Pay It also said that they handle all the PCI compliance. That's a big deal, right? Anything that has to do with transactions are handled by Pay It. PCI level compliance, compliance level 1 is the status of where the company is, so it's the highest level. That's the level that Chase and other credit card processors are at. But it was really the ability to see something that was innovative, and then they went through, and I met with the founders, John Thompson and Mike Plunkett, and had a chance to see what they were doing, and it was fantastic. I couldn't tell behind the scenes if there was a real company there yet, but I knew that it was really cool, and the innovation and the approach was really good. And then they said to me, they said, Mike, we will work with you and we will help you get something live in 90 days or less. Okay, I'm in government. I can't get an RFI drafted in 90 days. And I said, that's really interesting. Okay, so we're open to that, so let's give it a shot. Now, one of the things that we did in the state of Illinois is we realized that we had this tremendous challenge in front of us. So we went through an IT transformation journey. We built this IT organization that was really focused on being nimble and using Agile, everything you need to do to be a leader. We actually benchmarked North Carolina, and we talked to North Carolina, Louisiana, we talked to Michigan, a bunch of different states. We selected Deloitte. They were our systems integrator. And they, won that piece of the business and worked with us and used a roadmap that they have done that was very well crafted. Fantastic. It's not their consulting practice, it's their strategy practice. The reason I'm telling you this story is we took what was the journey of transformation in Illinois and we broke it into 21 75-day sprints. And I want to share with you, why did we pick 75 days? 75 days gave a little bit of sense of urgency, but it actually came from our deputy director in Illinois, Trey Childress. And Trey, when we had a chance to talk to him, and I actually asked, why are we doing 75 days instead of 90 days? I go, this is government, I can't even get 90 days is so fast. And the response was, if we can elect a governor and go through election to inauguration in 75 days, we should be able to do anything in IT in 75 days. Okay? And I said, So I tested it out. Back to John and Mike, and I said, I think your plan of and I was being very bold, right? I think your plan of 90 days is great, but I need to be live in 75 days or less. And they beat it. And they were able to help us launch the Illinois First platform that gave us one place that every citizen could find anything and everything to do with government in the palm of their hand. So very good success story. So I was bought in from the beginning. We used the platform to help us expand our services and other capabilities across the state. We had other agencies pick it up and use it, whether it was for professional licensing, permitting, whether it was child care licensing, the different services that were out there, not only DMV and motor vehicles, but all the different capabilities. So it was really a nice, simple to use solution. Now, why is all this important? I want to come back to a couple things Dustin said. Design around the citizen. Design around the citizen, and don't think the experience stops here, right? It's not just a device. This is a mobile type solution. However, it does change over time, right? So we all like to stand up and say, Alexa, renew my driver's license. And that is reality, right? We can do that. But let's think beyond that, and let's think beyond those borders. So I shared a little bit at the beginning that citizen satisfaction is low. About 75% of the citizens are dissatisfied with the digital services. There are too many solutions. I raise my hand and say, I've been there, I've done that. I had 3,000 applications In the state of Illinois, I probably needed 300, right? But we had to support the other 2,700, and those other 2,700 apps that were live, most of the folks who were not the knowledge base on those retired or were retiring in 12 months. So we had a big challenge in front of us, and that's another story, but we selected SAP HANA Enterprise Cloud and went live with that in a very short period of time. But there are too many solutions out there, and there are approximately 80,000 state and local government entities in the U.S. alone. So there's a lot of different solutions in a lot of different ways. The key with PayIt is you don't have to worry about that. PayIt gives you the ability to mask the back-end complexities and really work very easily and seamlessly for your citizens. So our commitment is that we can get live in 90 days or less. And then low digital adoption, and I think this is very telling. 10% of all state and local government transactions occur online, just 10%. I mean, this is across the board. These are the stats that we look at as an industry. And it just shows the opportunity we have as leaders in the state to help really improve the services for citizens. So when you think about what PayIt does, and we had Commissioner shared DMV and some of the functions there, we have a very robust services-based platform that allows us to use and enable anything and everything in government. And I've got 10 categories up here that we talk about, from DMV to turnpike and tolling, professional licensing, environmental services, courts and citations, taxes, health and human services, public safety, parks and wildlife, and then on the utility services. And so I think we cover all the different government entities that way, and we have live implementations of these in cities and states and counties around the globe. I'm sorry, I'm going to fix that, around the country, not around the globe yet. Our technology is second to none. So I've had an opportunity, like many of you have, to look at different technology platforms out there. I ran a software company before I joined the state as a CTO, and I know how hard it is. And these guys have built, and I shouldn't say these guys, we guys have built this awesome platform that really is something that you will be amazed with. It's simply delightful, it's secure, it's fast, it's easy to get live, and it's something that you design. And it has 4 core components that we talk about when we see the solution itself. And this is critical. I mentioned at the beginning the common digital wallet. So a citizen has one profile. So let me give you an example of how this works now, because what has happened is we've got different counties and cities and states around the country that are live. We recently had a citizen in Grand Rapids, Michigan, who uses the solution to pay their utility bill as well as their garbage, get a notification on their PayIt app that said, you know, you've completed your transaction. Oh, by the way, would you like to renew your vessel license in Beaufort County, South Carolina? And so let's think about that for a second. Think about what just happened. Beaufort County is what covers Hilton Head area, and Beaufort County is a customer of PayIt. And because of that, the system knew that you also had a vessel that you owned in another state that had to be renewed. So it really changed the citizen experience, and it's really critical there. So that's why a common citizen digital wallet is a direction that we're heading. We talked about digital identities at the beginning. We talked about real ID. I mean, this is happening. We've got to get to a common, secure, trusted ID that we can use. At the core, our engine, is a TalkBox configurable workflow. And so this is something where you configure how you want to interact with your citizens. Okay, so this is really that chat function that says, hi, you know, how would you like to do? This is our name, here's what we can do. How are you, I see that you have, a property tax bill that's due in 2 months. Would you like to set up payment for that now? Again, it's really intuitive in the way that it works. It has a PayIt checkout function. This is the best payment solution that's out there. It's something that's very unique in the way that this was designed and created by this company. It's covered by patents that have been filed. And then citizen insight. So what's critical is you guys as agency leaders, or you guys as technology creators for our agencies, you get analytics, right? And so every day, we get to see any minute of any day how many citizens are in the system, how many people have used it, where are they abandoning the conversation if there's any issues, where are we finding that we need to provide additional services, and that helps the agency directors really improve the services that they deliver. So I think this is really critical when we take a look at where we're at and what we're doing. This highlights some of the key things that the solution and platform does. It reduces wait times. It gives you the ability to increase the revenue. Now, I say that in government, and people get like, well, don't tell a citizen that that the government can increase revenue. Here's how. You have the ability to cross-sell services, right? So as you're going through this experience in DMV, what if you say at the end of that conversation, oh, by the way, are you interested in a hunting, or fishing license? Or, oh, by the way, I noticed that last year you purchased a fishing license. Are you interested in doing that again? You have the ability to do that. So I think that's a unique next step on really improving the delivery of services to our citizens. And you can get funds collected sooner. So because the technology is easy and it allows you to be able to set things up, not only is it credit card payment, but it's ACH or electronic checks. It gives you the ability to have these set up for both citizens and businesses. Businesses use this for tax filing as well. My summary slide, and then I'm going to do a couple of really quick demo just so we can stay on time. But Payit is a unique company. We provide a unique solution. I was a customer before I joined. We support all the government services. If you've got something you do that you think is unique, we'd be happy to sit down and go through that and show you how we can help you. It is cloud native, so it's cloud native. We are a strategic partner with AWS, so we use the AWS G Cloud. It was written specifically in the G Cloud. It's the highest level of security. It's FedRAMP certified. Between that and PCI compliance and then your ability to have the independent security audits, you've got the most secure solution that's out there. I think that's really important when we take a look at it. The other thing that we do that's very unique is Payit doesn't charge anything. So we don't charge anything for you to get started. And if you'd like to use this as a way, the agencies have the opportunity to process this, and Payit doesn't make money unless we process transactions. And so there's always a credit card fee that's by the credit card companies or ACH fees, but we typically charge a small percentage or a transaction fee that then can be consumed by either the agency can choose to pay for that, or you can pass that along to the citizen. In the example of DMV, there was a small fee that was put in there as the way they would take care of. DMV didn't have to pay any fees up front to develop the solution. So we'd like to say it's a low-cost solution to get started that is very unique. It's only transaction-based payments. I was in a session last week in Florida, and they're looking at using a solution. I responded to an RFP, and I had a room of people. We were going through it, and I got asked 25 different times, do you charge for maintenance? No. Do you charge for cloud services? No. Do you charge anything if I need to use your support desk? No. How about maintenance? No. How about enhancements? No. There's no charge, right? So it's very unique in the way that the business model has been created, and it helps you because it gives you the opportunity to not worry about that and get live in 90 days. I think that's very critical when you take a look at where you're at. Would you guys like to see a demo? Did you guys, anybody download it while we're in here? I was hoping to say, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. 175 people did. That's awesome. No, I'm kidding. All right, so the way that the app itself works, this is the MyDMV, so a citizen on the web or a citizen using their mobile app. This is exactly what they would see as they go in. And this is the exact same experience. It's mobile responsive. So everything in your mobile app looks exactly like the web. I'm just using the web. I'd like to go ahead and log in. So I'm going to, you'll see our nice little robot there. And this computer hasn't been used, so it doesn't have any of my data. So, all right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So I logged in, and it says, what would you like to do today? Renew a vehicle, pay limited registration taxes, order a duplicate, order a specialized plate, which you guys have some of the most amazing specialized plates I've ever seen. You have more than I've ever seen. I think you guys have the best collection of plates ever created, so it's a super cool experience. But let's go through and renew a vehicle. So you can see that this is actually a chat function that's going out there, and it is actually, now that I've logged in, it's got my identity, and it says, all right, here's what we'd like to do. So sure thing, before we begin, let's make sure you have what you need. Have you had a safety inspection, right? How about your emissions test, vehicle information, insurance card? Do you have that information handy? Yeah, let's go ahead, let's renew. So what it's going to do is it's going to go ahead and query the database, and it's going to say, I would like to get some of your vehicle information. So I'm going to go ahead and enter in my plate number. It's just demo data. And I'm going to go ahead and search. So this is hitting real-time actual data, and it comes back and says, okay, on March 23rd, 2019, you owe $16.74. Here's what we found. You'll be able to update your information in the next few steps. Is that yours? That's my Toyota. All right. So it's going out there. It's saying, we've got a few questions. First up, is this still your correct insurance? It's got your insurance card already in the system. Yes, that's right. And then it goes from there, and it says, is this your address? That is right now. That's my address in Charlotte. All right. Next up, we'd like to make sure that that's your mailing address. So it confirms, you have the option to confirm both the addresses. And is this the address where you'd like to register? And I go, yes, that's right. So it's going through, and it actually pulls up my plate that I had just entered the information on. It says, here's your plate detail, here's your category, all the information that's critical. Would you like to create or order specialized plates right here? You can do that. Let's move on. Let's move on to your plates. Would you like to go ahead and change anything? So you can change the background, the plate. You could personalize the plate. I'm all set. I'm just going to stay with the regular North Carolina, which I think are really cool. So it's going to come up and say, okay, is this your contact information? Yes, it is. Enter my mobile number and go ahead and submit it. So again, it's captured all this information. It's hit the mainframe databases. It's brought all the information back, and it allows me to go through this transaction. So now I'm going to go ahead and pay, and it's going to say, which type of payment method would you like? And I'm going to, it doesn't have my credit card information, so I'm going to go through that fun process of creating my credit card information. Okay, it expires 12/20, and my security code is 123. And it's going to go ahead and ask my street. Okay, it brings up, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and add that card. So it's going through the experience. It's created this secured payment method now. Again, this is all secure. It's all stored in the G Cloud. Nothing is stored on the device. I think that's very critical as we go through this. Nothing is stored there. It's captured my payment method, so I'm able to go ahead and submit and pay. And it's, here's the total, $19.74, and it goes ahead and goes through the process. So the registration is working. Success. You'll get your registration card in the mail. Here's your receipt. Pretty cool, right? 3 minutes, I renewed my vehicle license. And that's what you can do for each of your agencies. The solution that's been created at the DMV, I think, is really critical. I think the other thing, when you look at the whole experience is saved, the whole chat is saved, you've got everything that you need right here, and then we're done. So we say, okay, thanks. And what you'll find is I actually have a citizen wallet profile over here that has all my information. So I just, on my mobile device, you just touch, you just click up here, your info, here's your documents, here's your receipts, here's the Pay It profile that you've created, and you've got a common digital identity that's now been set up with the DMV that allows you to transact your business with them. That's Pay It, that's what we do. That is a capability that we've helped enable the vision through a private-public partnership with the DMV here in North Carolina. It's a very innovative solution. It's very simple to use. Again, I encourage you guys, if you haven't had a chance to download the app, there's no cost. Just download the app, play with it a little bit, and you'll see what you can do for your agency. Thank you. So, Dustin, I didn't know if would we like to do some questions, or what would you like to do? Sure. Commissioner, would you like to come up? So I have a question. With all your different type of vehicle license plates that you have, is there a contest? Can I submit different ideas? Can I do that through the Pay It app?
We should think about that.
Yeah. How about some questions, please?
I was wondering, because you're talking, this is to the commissioner, if we wanted to, as an agency, interface to use this, would we need an MOU with your agency? And is the contract open for other departments?
the other departments. I mean, we did establish an agreement with Pay It, of course, you know, on the development and, you know, data utilization and all the things that have to be in the state contract. There is and maybe DIT has a better representative here who can talk through the contract requirements of any state IT contract. But we use pretty much the standard language.
But if we wanted to use it and to be part of that, would we need an MOU with your agency to do that?
I don't know the answer to that question, but we could figure that out.
And so, just for the MOU, is it to work together or is it for data sharing?
To utilize the application in another agency is
Yeah,
what I
okay.
understand. Is that correct?
Yeah, because, I mean, you mentioned childcare. My division does background checks for childcare. And we have, if we wanted to interface with that, because our clientele would probably, we would like to interface with the DMV, sort of a data sharing thing, to verify our people. And then we would have them there as an app for communication back and forth, because we do to the SBI for background checks, we can help you verify, but you can also help us verify.
So that's different than what I thought you were asking. So yes, we would have to enter into some type of an agreement, you know, taking into consideration all the laws around that type of data sharing. But we could work with something. I mean, if you all want to start that conversation, I'd start it with our legal team first. Drew Marsh is our general counsel. He's not here today, but I think I'd start that conversation there. We have some similar relationships with other agencies.
And then we could go into the, MyDMV, and our customers could have that one experience, do it all at one time. That's what I'm
That-
trying to get at.
yeah.
Is how do we as an agency get to that?
Right.
Because there's so many other pieces that we have to do before we can play together.
Indeed, indeed.
So, do you have agency data sharing agreements in place? Do you have MOUs for that?
For some agencies.
For some? Yeah, we had the same situation in Illinois. So we had 37 agencies, and we had 3 agencies that just would not participate. And, you know, some of that was on criminal justice, on the CJIS compliance, because some of the things in the state of Illinois, while Pay It was, you know, G-Cloud certified FedRAMP, you know, that hits all the CJIS compliance requirements. The state of Illinois' back office systems were hosted in data centers in their own location, so it wasn't CJIS compliant. So that's the type of thing that you run into. Now, on the child care licensing, we just are in the process of going live in Kansas, the state of Kansas, and they're using it as the first step that they've chosen is that they're going to do the licensing for child care and the background checks. And eventually they want to integrate with, you know, the DMV folks. So this could be something we could, you know, work through together. Yeah. And then on the contracting end, the contract that is in place, we have to go through all the details, but we believe that we should be able to use it for any of the agencies as long as it goes through DIT. No, that can't happen at all. Take that off, that's not true. Okay, we have to work out some things, but, so scratch that from the record, but there are opportunities to do that. I know that's the hardest, most complex thing in government. It was, I was telling the commissioner that in order to survive in my role, I had dual chief of staffs that both had to be lawyers, because I couldn't figure out the legislation, right? Every time I tried to do something, it got stopped. And then I could never figure out how to get things through procurement. And I know we all struggle with that on IT end, and that's not anything that's unique to you guys, but I'm you know, sorry, you know.
No, that's fine. I always defer to the lawyers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any lawyers in the room? Okay, see, that's why we're having so much fun. Okay, let's keep going. All right, any other questions?
What do y'all think about that? Oh, I'm sorry, we had one question.
Well, I have a question slash comment. I'm just kind of curious, like, how did the logo get chosen? Because if I had not heard your presentation, that
That's interesting. So,
I mean, I can see it on the website, and so, in hearing y'all, it sounds really enticing. And as a communicator
So-
that's been experienced at the state, I would not think that was a real DMV act.
yeah, and the DMV logo is not just North Carolina's DMV logo.
Right.
Our logo is used by multiple entities out there. But there was some conversation around the MyDMV, and using that as, I guess, a brand, for lack of better words. But I don't remember conversations around the dome. Patrice, can you speak to that at all?
No, I think that's a pay it logo.
Okay, okay.
Standard, but I think we need to talk a little bit about, is there some option for making changes down the road? We might have some candidates.
And absolutely, we have a design team that works, with our clients and actually creates that. So each individual state looks different. They don't look like the Pay It logo. They have the seascape, the landscape. In Florida, they've got the space shuttle taken off. And Kansas, they've got, I don't know, it must be KU football for our founder because he's a big KU fan. But, each one, you guys can decide how you want that to look is the way that works.
Do y'all have to do anything on the DMV's back end as far as the database or how they're migrating the information, or are they just connecting to the old system, or do you have to rebuild your infrastructure as well?
No, I mean, of course, there's some interfacing that has to take place, what we call a saddle system, which is the driver's license system is what it is. So there was some interfaces that had to be created there, and, rules, business logic that's created for those interfaces to occur. And, of course, DIT does a great job of making sure that the information that is shared is the information that is shared and that it's secure.
So it's just an interface, is
Yep.
all it needs to be built. And you can decide with your back office system how much data you want to take back in. We have standard REST-based APIs that we use to integrate some of the data back and forth. And then we work with DIT for that integration messaging layer.
Yeah. And when they say 90 days, 75 days, whatever, I mean, it's pretty fast. So we appreciate that. All right. Thank you.